So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got another politician out here who claims that video games, violent video games as a matter of fact, are the reason that crime happens. So coming from Polygon, it states here, an Illinois legislator is looking to ban the sale of all violent video games in the state, according to amendments that would adjust a 2012 law, which currently keeps retailers from selling certain violent video games to minors. The documents were filed on Friday by Representative Marcus C. Evans Jr. in response to an increase in carjackings and violent crime in Chicago. House Bill 3531 or 3531 would prevent the sale of all violent video games in the state. As defined in the bill, a violent video game is described as one that allows a user or player to control a character within the video game that is encouraged to perpetuate human-on-human violence in which the player kills or otherwise causes serious physical or psychological harm to another human or an animal. Representative Marcus C. Evans Jr. actually came out, made a statement saying the bill would prohibit the sale of some of these games that promote the activities that we're suffering from in our communities. So I guess we're really going to go down this path yet again. How many times do we have to go down this path? These politicians, these government officials want to come out and make these claims saying that video games are the reason that violence happens. Video games are the reason that, crime happens, cars are being stolen, innocent people are being harmed. It's all because of violent video games. And there's been numerous studies that have shown that violent video games have little to no correlation whatsoever with, criminal activity or violence in itself. There's little to no correlation whatsoever regarding the two. And I mean, hell, even the article states, in 2020, the American Psychological Association reported that there is little scientific evidence that supports a causal link between violent video games and violent behavior. And then it even continues to go on into, further detail regarding the topic at hand. So it's even though the American Psychological Association has actually came out and stated that there's no link, or little to no link at least, supporting the claims that these politicians are making, these politicians and government officials still want to come out and make these claims as if they know what they're talking about. They're looking for something to blame it on when there's nothing to blame it on. It's just simple human nature. Even before video games were a thing, crime was still going on. People were still being harmed. Robberies were still happening. Cars were still being stolen. All of that stuff was still going on even before violent video games were a thing. I feel like that these politicians don't just simply want to acknowledge the fact that maybe this rise in carjackings, this rise in criminal activity, maybe because of some of the horrible policies, horrible laws that they've put in play, or maybe this has something to do with the global health crisis. No. Let's not acknowledge, the global health crisis at hand here. Let's not acknowledge these horrible policies that we've put in play. Let's not acknowledge any of that stuff whatsoever. Let's just put the blame on violent video games yet again. Let's just not acknowledge, the global health crisis. Let's not acknowledge our own horrible restrictions and policies that we've put in play. Let's not acknowledge that. No, we're just going to put the blame off on video games yet again, even though there's been numerous studies that show that there's no link whatsoever between violent video games and violent behavior, criminal activity, or any of that stuff. Let's just blame it on that. Let's not acknowledge our own faults at hand here. Let's not acknowledge, other factors like the global health crisis. Nope, it's all video games' fault. No matter what the case is, video games are at fault here. Now, at the end of the day, I believe that I'm simply going to believe science as opposed to believing some idiotic politician's claims that video games are at fault here, whenever there's been numerous studies and research that has came out showing otherwise, showing that the claims that they are making are absolutely false. So I'm going to believe science as opposed to, believing a politician. Anyways, though, guys, thank you for tuning in to this video. If y'all enjoyed this, please go ahead and smash like. It would be super greatly appreciated. I love y'all. Stay beautiful. Do not go ugly on me either. And I'll see you in the next one.